I've never done a review quite like this before. And here, well, let's just start at the beginning. This is a review of the GATO DIA-400S stereo integrated amplifier. It's small as integrated amps go, but it's extremely powerful. 400 watts per channel into 8 ohms and 800 watts per channel into 4 ohm loads. That's really powerful. Now, it is a Class D design. The modules are made by Pascal. It's a Danish firm. And of course, so is GATO. They're based in Denmark. And they build their products, these amplifiers, and speakers, by the way, in Denmark. Now, back in February of this year, I reviewed and loved the GATO Amp 150. Now, that's a Class AB design. And that one, the 150, is just an analog integrated amplifier. It's got no digital inputs. It's just a straight-ahead integrated amp, which I gravitate to designs like that. I want the DAC and all that stuff, Phono, Preamp. I want that to be external to the amp itself. It's my preference. The DIA-400S is exactly the opposite. It's Class D. It's extremely powerful. It's a network player. It's got built-in DACs. It's an all-in-one solution. So they're coming from opposite directions. And the other thing that's kind of interesting about this comparison is I've never done a Class AB versus D comparison. They're both by the same company, and they're both around the same price. No worries, folks. There will be an Audiophiliac viewer system of the day at the conclusion of today's episode. Now, regarding the 400S, where to begin? First of all, the knob feel. The knob feel is exquisite. You turn that knob, it's just, first of all, it runs warm to the touch. This may be a Class D design, but it runs pretty toasty because it is dealing with a lot of power inside that chassis. And those curved heat sinks on either side are just a stunning works of industrial art. They're just, wow. Now, the top cover can be finished in either walnut, gloss white, or gloss black. It's your option when you buy the piece. Now, when you look at the back sides of these two amplifiers side by side, they look surprisingly different. Well, first, because obviously the 400S has a lot more inputs and outputs, so they're crowded together. That's okay. But look at this speaker, the binding posts. The one on the Amp 150, those are really nice WBT connectors. The ones on the 400S look like generic connectors. I was about to say Chinese. I don't know where they're sourced from, but they don't look nearly as impressive as those WBTs on the Amp 150. And the RCA connectors also look pretty generic on the 400S, and the Amp 150's RCAs are just a couple of steps up in quality. We haven't discussed price. The DIA-400S is $4,100 in the United States. And then if you want to include the network player, so you can stream Tidal and Qobuz and do Roon and all that cool stuff, the price goes up to $4,700. Now that price includes shipping and local taxes. That's the US price, but of course, GATO's not a US company. They're based in Denmark, and they ship worldwide. And you should check with them for the price in your country, and their prices always include free shipping and local taxes. Well, as for the remote is metal. It's nicely done, doesn't have too many buttons. It's very easy to use. I'm going to put up all the specs. Oh, and I should also mention that the DIA-400S does not do DSD. It does not include MQA, and I could care, well, less? Yeah, I could care less. Oh, and I should mention that all digital signals incoming are always upsampled to 192 24-bit. When I started my listening sessions, my immediate impressions were the DIA-400S. The sound is clean, clear, neutral, exacting. Those are the kind of words I would use to describe it. I still had the Air EX8 2.0 integrated on hand, so it made sense to do a comparison, and the comparison was pretty in and out. The Air was much softer sounding, slower even, more relaxed, warmer, tonally much more engaging. And going back to the DIA-400S, the sound was thinner, harder, and tonally cooler than the Air EX8 2.0. So that was pretty stark differences between the two integrated amplifiers. So now the speaker, because of the 400S's power capabilities, I also wanted to use the least sensitive speaker I had on hand at that time, which was the Harbeth C7XD, which has a sensitivity, I believe, of 85 or 86 dB. And I did my loud listening sessions in short bursts of about 30 seconds or so, in the high 90 dB range. That's more as much as I wanted to subject myself to. So anyway, I played music loud. Yes, 400 watts per channel can play really loud. Congratulations. So yes, the Harbeths had a livelier sound when driven with lots of power. I kind of knew that before I hooked it up, but that's what you get. If you use a very low sensitivity speaker with a very high powered amplifier, the dynamics will improve. When you play highly dynamic recordings, assuming you have any, yes, it will sound better in that way. Absolutely. For my in-depth listening sessions, it was really about the Amp 150 versus the DIA-400S. I listened to audiophile recordings for their audiophile qualities. In other words, the live space, hearing, live to 2-track, hearing into the space. But, I got hung up on Aphex Twin, electronic music. Selected Ambient Works Volume 2. And, for electronic music, Aphex Twin, I go in and out with Aphex Twin. Like sometimes I get hung up on that music, on his music, and I go deep into it, and then I forget about it for a couple of years, then I come back to it, oh my God, this is so cool. And some of that music, it's just the pulse of it, the churn of it, the textures of it really, really grab me. And I was playing that over the 400S and really feeling it. And for that, I was cranking it up loud. Not crazy loud, not 100 dB peaks or anything, but loud for me, over the Cornwall 4s and really digging it, And it was one of those things, I kept inching it up louder and louder and louder for little bits of time and just saying, yeah, sometimes when I'm in the right mood, I do want to play things loud for bits and pieces. And then I would go back to the Amp 150 and play the same thing at nearly as loud a level and say, I like this too. I do. But no, I still prefer the Amp 150. I mean, I played this Paul Simon record, the Saints record. I'll show you the picture of it right now. This was the one he did after Graceland, and it's got this great rhythm and horns and everything. It's a gorgeous recording. I think it's one of his overlooked masterpieces, to use that word. And he's in fine form, and just the drive of that record, that Paul Simon record, is so wonderful. It's so incredible. And when I went from the Amp 150 to the DIA-400, it just lost so much of the beauty of that recording over the 400S. It just got smaller, flatter, tonally, let's say, I hate to use that word, but bleached out, less color to the sound over the 400S. Now, I'm speaking like an audiophile, right? That's the way I hear. I can't unhear that once I hear it, right? Now, most people that are going to buy the 400S aren't going to be doing these comparisons. I spent a lot of time just listening to the 400S when I first hooked it up without doing any comparisons, and I was reasonably happy with the sound. And the person who buys a 400S is basically looking for a one-box solution. They don't want a big, ugly amp. They don't want lots of boxes and wires connecting all this stuff together. They want a beautiful, stylish design, a one-box solution, and some nice speakers, and they're done. And I think that's who the 400S is for. If you're more of an audiophile, if you're more of a sit-down listener type person, for the same dollars, I would think you should buy the Amp 150. Oh, by the way, I was using a Denafreps Terminator, the original Terminator, with the Amp 150, since it doesn't have a built-in DAC. You know, I played this Tom Waits recording big time. It's an early live Tom Waits album. It's not a great recording. It actually sounds like it was done from a board mix that wasn't intended to be released as an album, because the sound quality varies a lot and the mix varies so much from track to track. The best of it actually sounds pretty good. The worst of it doesn't sound particularly good at all. But what it does capture is Tom Waits just cutting loose, you know. He's such a presence on stage. If you've ever seen Tom Waits live, you know what I mean, right? His voice is his instrument, his growls, his screams. He's not a singer per se. He's a growler. He's kind of an animal on stage that way. He's just a presence, right? And that's what this recording gives you. And going between the 400S and the Amp 150, you know, the 400S was doing a good job, because I started with the 400S and I'm listening for that quality of his vocal. And it was there. It was definitely there over the 400S, that excitement, that charged electrical feel. I don't mean of the band, I mean of his vocals, was one of those, whoa, yeah. I'm literally getting goosebumps now thinking about listening to that, and also thinking about when I see Tom Waits in peak form, which was a while ago now, but still, listening to a recording like this brings it all back. This is one of the great things about having a great system. This was with the Cornwall 4s. It was like, whoa, man. When Tom Waits is good, he's really, really good. So if you've never seen Tom, this recording will give you a hint, a taste of what he can do, or what he could do way back. Anyway, I think you get the gist. I like the 400S. I think for the intended buyer who wants, let's say, the turnkey solution, it's a fine piece of work. But if you're more of the audiophile type and you want great sound in a compact package that looks freaking gorgeous, and even your non-audiophile friends can't not miss how beautiful this thing looks and feels, the Amp 150 is really worth checking out. And now for the Audiophiliac viewer system of the day. Andy lives in North Carolina. He started his audio journey earlier this year. He is off to a great start. His amp is a Peachtree Audio Nova 150. Speakers, can't miss those. JBL L100 Classics. The turntable is a Rega Planar 6 with an Ortofon 2M bronze. Phono preamp is a Parks Audio Puffin. Streamer Bluesound No 2i. Man, those are so freaking popular. Power conditioner is a Panamax M5300-PM. And the headphones, also super popular, Audio Technica M50X. Thanks, Andy. My name is Steve Guttenberg. This is the Audiophiliac Daily Show. If you like what I'm doing here, please consider subscribing to this YouTube channel. To do so, super easy, hit the freaking button, and when you do, hit the bell so you'll be notified every time there's an amazing new episode. After that, I can ask you, nicely, ever so nicely, check out my Patreon, which can be found at patreon.com/Audiophiliac. Now I can say my work here is at last complete. Thank you again for watching, and I really, really do hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Bye-bye.